Are we willing to do whatever it takes to bring people to Jesus who can't get there on their own? One of my favorite passages is from John chapter 13, verse 34, 35, where it tells us that the world's gonna look at Main Street and they're gonna know who we are by our love for one another. They're gonna know that you're a follower of Jesus because of the way that you love people. Isn't that crazy? That you are a disciple. You are an apprentice of Jesus. You're a student of Jesus because of the way that you are able to love those in your life. Here's the tension. My oldest son, when he was 2-3 years old, he used to say to me, I do it my way. I do it. My way. I do it. And so we'd try to push him going, hey, you know what, son, let me help you up on the counter. No, I do it. And he'd try to put his leg up on the counter, or we'd try to help him up over a ledge. No, I do it. And there's something within each and every one of us that we have this belief, this confidence that I can do it by myself. I mean, I know what I need. I know what I want. I think I have an idea about how I'm going to get there. And you know what? It's just easier if you just kind of stay out of the way. Here's the tension. We walk into a room and we long for community. We long to be known by somebody. We long for a place where we can belong, where we can call family, where we can call home. But the problem is we enjoy our loneliness. We would rather have that than the effort, the work that it takes to be family. And so it creates this tension within our life. Are we going to be community? Are we going to be the people who can take people where they need to be when they can't get there on their own? This is a beautiful story. This is a guy who on his own, he's completely stuck. And quite honestly, there are probably people in your life who are stuck. They will not be able to move forward until you get involved and you support and you love and you show them and you bring them to this place where they can know Jesus. All right, so listen to this point. You grow spiritually when you are connected. Say that word for me. And you connected. Oh my Lord. It's a long weekend. I'll give it to you. You grow spiritually when you are connected. I want you to hear all the voices say that. Because God has created this incredible opportunity for us not only to know him and be known by him, but he's created an opportunity for us to be known and loved by others. And to love others as family. And I think there's a reason why loneliness, after a while, just kind of gets dull. It's the whole Garden of Eden story where God looks at mankind and he looks at humanity and he says, you know what? This is horrible. Being alone is not good. And so he creates this idea of relationships. And on the one hand, you can have very little, and yet your life is fulfilling because of all the relationships you have. Or you can have a lot and have nothing because you don't have any relationships. Let's move on into our story in Luke chapter 5, now verse 19. So they went up to the roof and took off some tiles. Then they lowered the sick man on his mat into the ground right in front of Jesus. Now again, I love this story because friends are taking someone where they need to be when they couldn't get there on their own. And so the story opens our minds up of what could we do if we could band together, if we work together to be able to get people who need to get to Jesus who can't get there by themselves. What if we were to turn this me into a we? What if we were to be about community? What if we were to invest into others? What if we were to become a healthy place where people can learn and grow in relationships and moving from this place where it's about myself, it's about my needs, and totally unaware of others to a place where we're an acting of love. Friends helping friends get to where they need to be because they can't get there on their own. I think of this story, and I got to tell you, there's a part of me that wonders how many people walked past him, or how many people did he ask, and they said, "Yeah, can't do it. You know, I got things going on. I just I'd rather not." You know, there was this TV show called "What Would You Do?" We care enough to get involved is the next point here. This TV show, it would have a family of actors, and the family would have a scenario that they would play out, and then they would put hidden cameras in a restaurant, and they would see how people would react. What would you do? And so in this scenario that I saw, they had a child who acted as though he had autism. And the family was going to interact with him as though this is how their function was as a family with a child with autism. Again, they were all actors. Then they had another actor that was a part of the whole story. His job was to criticize this family and to out loud have displeasure about this family being there. And then they wanted to capture everybody's reaction to how that story played out. So you're watching the show, and sure enough, the boy's acting up, and he's making a bit of a scene, and the guy yells across the restaurant, "Why are you ruining my time? Why are you making this so hard for us to be able to enjoy? We're trying to enjoy a breakfast here, and you guys shouldn't come out to restaurants ever." And then you look around the restaurant, it was so interesting to watch people suddenly speak out, go, "Hey, you shouldn't talk like that. They are allowed to be here just as you are." And you're just like, give it to the guy. And then afterwards, they would expose the storyline and tell the person what had happened and just honor how they responded. I wonder how much of us doesn't want to get involved in storylines. I wonder how much of us sees people who need to get somewhere and they can't get there on their own, and they would rather not. Like, I'm sure these friends knew Jesus was in the house. He was going to be given this incredible teaching. I'm sure they wanted to be in the house with them, right? Get 2 tickets to the front row to be able to watch Jesus teach, hang out with the religious elite. They had all kinds of reasons, excuses to say, "You know what, buddy, we're actually going to go inside the house. You just wait out here." But there was something in them that said, "We need to help you to get from here to there." And so verse 18 actually says these words, "They tried to take him inside." That word "tried" is actually, it's an ongoing verb. It's not like they tried once. The tense is that it's repetitive. So in other words, his friends looked everywhere to try to find a way to be able to get into this house, to get their paralyzed friend into them. And so sure, they look at the door, they see that people are crammed. They looked in the windows. I'm sure there's people standing in the window way, maybe sitting on the window seats. And I don't know, but when I think of 4 young adult guys hanging out together, usually in that group there's one guy that's the creative, right? He comes up with the ideas. And so, you know what? What if we were to go through the roof, like got into the ceiling of the house? And with 4 young adult guys, there's usually a guy who's the doer. "Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's dig up the house. Let's just get the guy. Let's throw him on in. That'd be awesome." And usually 4 young adult guys, there's a guy who's like the engineer, right? "Well, how are we going to make that work? Do we have a ladder that's long enough that'll reach to the top of the ceiling? And what are we going to do with all the stuff once we tear it apart?" And usually within 4 young adults, there's a guy that's the safety guy, right? Should we have people sign waivers? Like, what if somebody gets hurt when the ceiling comes down on them? I don't know. And yet these 4 guys, man, talk about being bold. They're about to destroy a guy's house. And by the way, we're not sure. We think it might be Peter because Peter was from Capernaum. So this might actually be Peter's house that they're digging in the roof and tearing it apart and trying to get their friend to Jesus. Now, the houses back then had flat roofs. They had beams that would go across the top. They'd put hay, and then they would put mud so it'd be kind of solid. They would have a ladder that would go out so that they could walk and and rest on the top of the roof in the colder evenings. So it wouldn't take a jackhammer to tear this house apart, right? Like, this was actually a doable thing. I don't say that to downplay that this is not a big deal. Totally is a big deal. But to them, it was worth it. Who in your life do you need to help to get from here to there because they can't get there on their own? Well, they could have found all kinds of excuses, but sometimes we need people to take us where we can't get alone. Could we be a church where we're willing to do whatever it takes to get people to Jesus? This is insane. I don't know if tearing apart a guy's roof would have been my plan, right? Dude, my hands are sore. This is actually getting really hard to rip the root. You know what? I'm busy. I got to take the camel for a walk. You know, I got things I got to do, man. I told the wife I'd go out and get some veggies. Sorry. They could have. This is what I wrote down in my notes. There are people in your life who are worth the inconvenience. There are people in your life that are worth the inconvenience. You think of the lengths that Jesus went to bring life transformation. Are we willing to do whatever it takes to bring people to Jesus who can't get there on their own? One man couldn't have done it, that's for sure. Think about that, right? A guy on a ladder trying to hold his friend who's just immobile. Like, how would you do that? 2 guys, maybe. But it needed the commitment of all these friends to climb this ladder and to get their friend to Jesus.